All I know is the whole school was told off. The headmaster says, all you kids are nuts. It's a weather balloon. Don't talk about it.
I was prepped to tell the students that what they'd seen didn't exist. We weren't allowed to leave the school, at least I wasn't. My job was to walk up and down the corridors and make sure that all students were in their rooms. I was walking back from the West End. There was a confrontation between Mr. Sambleby, Barbara Robbins, and a man I'd never seen before. I thought it was a police uniform, but it was just dark blue. It was demanded that she hand over not the film, but the entire camera.
I was near the gate and the police had arrived.
There were journalists outside. The police had been caught in to keep the journalists away.
We were told that we weren't allowed to speak to the media in school grounds. After school finished, there was a TV crew outside the school grounds, so we undertook an interview with them.
Everyone took off onto the oval.
Now, I can't remember whether it was a principal or a school representative that came out and ordered us to go home and the film crew to leave.
And I'd actually been giving an interview to Channel 9 and the policeman actually walked up to them and said, stop filming and you go back into the school ground. Okay, so that's what I did. I was 12 and a half years old.
Because I was a mischievous sort of person, I was always getting into trouble. I had detention for actually appearing on the show, and then I got detention again at a later date after my picture and story was in the Dandenong Journal. So I didn't go unpunished, but it was worth it.
I now had two new leads to follow, Channel 9 and the Dandenong Journal. I rang Channel 9 first. They searched for a flying saucer story, and there it was. Now all I have to do is find the can with the matching number. But oddly, there was nothing there. I was absolutely devastated, and nobody had any idea where it had gone. It's very frustrating, but the good news is the Dandenong Journal does still exist, and I'm told it's here in the library. It's the only written account I've heard of from the period, so it's really precious.
Westall High School students. Something obviously happened. Some people apparently didn't want the kids talking about it, and that raises all sorts of questions. Why couldn't it have been discussed? Why couldn't it have been talked about openly? And why couldn't anybody find any more information about what it was?
The headmaster, Frank Sambleby, is a key part of the story. He's passed away, but I hope his children, Max and Gail, can shed some light on his behaviour.
Hello, Shane here. Anybody home?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Max? Nice to meet
Hi.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
He played 50 games for the Hawthorn Football Club. He was a half-back flanker, and in those days half-back flankers ran in straight lines, and that's what he did.
He was pretty black and white, and he had a very strong sense of right and wrong, and yeah, if it didn't fit in with what he believed, then yeah, he found it quite difficult.
And this thing would have been seen as something that was disrupting the smooth operation of the school.
And he would have been a sceptic as well. I mean, he didn't believe in supernatural things. He believed in the real life, didn't he? You know, when we were kids, there was a picture on the wall of a Roman soldier standing, holding his spear, and the lava was all falling down from Pompeii, and people in the background were all crouching and running. And Dad said, "See, he's standing there doing his duty." And, you know, that, I mean, as children, we had to learn that discipline was important, respect, all those things, all the old values. And, yeah, he found it really hard as things changed he was pretty judgmental.
There was plenty for Frank Sambleby to be judgmental about. In the 1960s, rebellion at home and on the streets brought many young people into conflict with the establishment. Schools were run like the military, and teachers demanded respect and obedience. Westall High was no exception. I tried to contact some of the teachers, but many have passed away. As far as I know, only the science teacher, Andrew Greenwood, saw the object in the air. Although he's spoken with me privately, he refuses to go on the public record. Several teachers dismissed the whole thing as mass hysteria. The response left students feeling confused and conflicted. Some are still searching for answers.
I want to find some sort of proof that this happened, so we don't keep on, you know, getting called silly people. And, you know, no one's ever wanted to know the details before. They just think I'm stupid, and, you know, they don't want to know the story. I said, I've seen UFOs or flying saucers, and they say, yeah, sure. What drugs were you on that day? And, you know, I was 13 years old. I was at school in the daytime. I wasn't on any drugs.
Slowly you start to drift. I'd like you to visualize the area that we've discussed before. You're in the classroom. You're with Mr. Greenwood, who was the teacher there. There's a little fella comes running around and says, there, flying saucers outside, flying saucers outside. Everybody laughed. And Mr. Greenwood said, come on then, let's have a look. See yourself running down the Eiffel.
We're all affected by our experiences that aren't ever properly acknowledged or accepted. As a boy, I was living in a fairly unhappy home. My own father had died, so my mother had remarried and had given me a stepfather that I'd never asked for. I was quite powerless, and no one really seemed to understand what I was experiencing as a child. I never really had anyone talk to me about it. Just having it acknowledged that what I was going through was real, that would have been a start.
1, 2, 3.
Even though I know it's true, the more I try to see it again, the harder it becomes, I think. I can see bodies, but I can't see people, faces, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I can still see the trees and the...
Yeah, and the things.
It was, yeah.
The feelings don't go away. They just get buried and they sort of fester a little bit.
I saw the classroom for the first time, and then I saw heads bobbing, walking across the oval towards the end of the school ground, and then there they were. Still not 100% clear, but I know what they are. They're UFOs.
If they were UFOs, there should be people around the area who can corroborate what the students saw. A headmaster might be able to shut down a high school, but surely not a whole suburb. Within days of delivering my flyers, I'm contacted by a new witness, Paul Smith, who used to work on a property next door to the Grange.
We were loading up for market, and as we were pulling the carrots up, I looked up and I was facing the object in the sky, and I just thought, oh, somebody's got some way of projecting a film of something into the sky. I didn't believe that it was really happening. But my boss turned around and he saw it, and we stood there looking at it for several minutes. A few moments later, the children came over from the high school and they noticed us, they saw us, and they sort of took a while to make up their mind whether they would come onto the property, realising it's private property.
Yes.
And they decided they'd come in anyway, and they did. They ran straight over the market garden, and they crossed and walked down here to this corner. After a while, trucks turned up with, it looked like army trucks.
Right.
And there would have been about 20 guys got out.
About how long after the object had vanished in the trees?
Oh, I think it was only 20 minutes, which is not a long time.
How did you know they were from the army?
Well, they were khaki-coloured trucks, the covered in patches, you know, sort of that they to hide, you know.
Like camouflage?
Camouflage truck, yeah. And it was the long ones that carry quite a few people, and a couple of jeeps.
So a couple of trucks,
and
a couple of jeeps, and about 20 men in uniforms?
Yeah.
And the uniforms were what sort of uniforms?
Just khaki-coloured uniforms.
Just khaki?
Yeah.
No other, don't remember any other sort
Not
of...
that I can remember, no.
Colours or...
No.
I went looking for a military expert. If the army was able to turn up in just 20 minutes, where could they possibly have come from?
It's quite evident that there was no deployable troops